right, bows and bow ties. So look, I just slapped this together real quick because I just had a thought. So apparently I live under a rock, and one of the things is I didn't even know that Kendrick Lamar was beefing with J. Cole and Drake. I just found that out like 2 days ago. And then I didn't know that Chris Brown and Quavo were beefing. I found out about that like a couple days ago. And the only reason why I knew was because I was scrolling on the TikTok. The interesting thing about it was I had heard of the name Quavo. I didn't even know who the Quavo guy was. I'm not big into a whole bunch of rap because most of the stuff out now is just like garbage. But yeah. So I'm listening to all of these diss tracks and I'm just kind of like, I mean, some of it's funny, but not really. I'll tell you the reason why. Because the only thing I could think of, and maybe it's just me, was how much these men were bragging about who they slept with and how they were running women over at the expense of trying to get on top. So these men, Chris Brown and Quavo, like, I guess Quavo was part of the Migos or something. Like, I don't. And the Offset guy, I think that's the guy that got shot over some dice or cards or something. And I'm sure I've heard their music, right? Because I, mean, I don't know, all the stuff that's out nowadays sound the same. Like the LMI chick, like all her music sounds the same. Like I don't think she could sing, but she has hits, right? You know, that's just how I feel about it. Look, don't be mad at me. But to a lot of these people who are out right now, like it's like wash, rinse, repeat. They all sound the same, or they got that weird like I don't know, the computer in the background, like I don't know, whatever. But yeah, one big L, because all we did was get out here on the internet, cuss each other out, calling each other bees and ninjas, and how they're the better one because they slept with somebody else. I'm like, they don't care about these women. These women are collateral damage. And people are out here like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, don't these guys are bodying each other up on these diss tracks, but it's still just as ignorant as it wants to be. Because I'm like, this is so dumb. I effed your girl while you were with her and all this other stuff, and you're a crack junkie, or I can't even keep up. I don't even know who half of these people are. But I'm like, this is what we got out here on the internet and literally it's just like, and it was so misogynistic. And these guys are like bigging this stuff up. There's a lot of people like, yeah, now don't get me wrong. There was some snazzy little things that they were saying there, but it was still disrespectful. And let this be a learning lesson to all the ladies out there dealing with these guys. They don't care about you. You are nothing more than a means to an end. They will use you up, spit you out, and make sure they run you over with a bus in front of everybody to make a point. As soon as they had the opportunity, they used you for clout. These women who they were sleeping around with or whatever. I don't even know who the Saweetie girl is. The only thing I know is I think she had a cheeseburger or something. I don't know what she does. I'm assuming she's a rapper or some sort of influencer. I was like, who is the sweetie chick? Now, in defense of me, half the time I may know who, well, I don't know, but I may have heard their music or whatever, but I never know the names of anything. I just may remember like the song or something if it's out or whatever. But I don't know these artists. These artists are silly to me. All the artists look the same. They all have the same eyelashes, the same hair, the same nails, the same BBL. I mean, I'm just saying, all the rappers have all the same stupid names. Lil Baby, the Baby, Young this, Young that, or whatever. I don't know. They all have the same ugly tattoos all over their face and body. And they all have the same dreads that don't look clean. Hey, I'm just calling the thing a thing. They look dry. You know, I don't know what the weird grill thing is. It's just really gross. But then again, I know I'm getting older and I like a clean look. I don't like all of that. So for me, I mean, obviously, I am not the targeted demographic. But to watch these L's that the community is self-owning, what do you call it, owning or whatever, they're self-inflicted wounds. They're literally like, not only are we not respecting each other, we're gonna disrespect our women in the process. These women were collateral damage. Or were they? I don't know. Maybe they signed up for the shenanigans. I don't know. But I was just kind of like, this is some of the most stupidest stuff. And people are getting hyped all over this kind of stuff. So I did listen to these diss tracks or whatever. I don't even know where the beef came from. I didn't even know they were beefing, period. And now, once you click on one thing, you know you see enough, right? I didn't know that Chris Brown has been mad at this guy for like 2 or 3 years. They were showing him on, I don't even know what show it was on. I want to say it was like a Nick Cannon show, like a rap battle show. So I don't know what it is, but like, no, it was basketball. Maybe I don't know. But he's been calling them out for like a couple of years, 2 or 3 years. I don't know. I don't even know why they're fighting, and it's so silly because if they're fighting over women, it's embarrassing. You didn't wife these women up. This was not your wife. This was this. I don't know what this is. And furthermore, if you're not in a covenant with this person, like, why do you care? You should be upset with the woman if she cheated on you. I don't know what the circumstances of surrounding all of this is. It's so silly to me, but I just feel like the community just is taking L's. So we are more into these rap disses than trying to figure out why we can't be functional. It's just more L's, more L's. That's all we do is take L's. I'm just calling a thing a thing. I'm calling a thing a thing. You have Stephen A. out there being a whole clown about 45, you know. Uh, I feel like there's nothing wrong with having an opinion. He says he doesn't care. Yes, he does, because that's why he addresses certain things. And I think once people stop supporting some of his stuff, then he'll realize, okay, like, he's done. Like, I respect Stephen A's hustle. He's an intelligent guy, but he's one of those people that he believes his own hype too. So what happens is his ego is super inflated. So, you know, because he's in with all the ESPN guys or whoever, the thing that he's not understanding is they still are the gatekeepers. I just feel like he gets out there on, what is it, the Fox, Hannity, what show is he on? He's going on and on and on. Like, personally, I don't care about 45 either, right? But I think he's committed some things allegedly that he should be brought, that he should have a day in court for. There's nothing wrong with that. And this dingling gets out there and he's saying, like, he just sounds like a total Uncle Tom. Like, I feel like the only thing he needs to do now is just go out there and just start buck dancing. And be like, handball, have you heard? I mean, like, Stephen A, he's just too much. Like I said, he's too much. I don't know why people have deemed him as like the overlord or whatever, but sometimes I'm just kind of like, I just wish he would stop talking. I just wish he would stop talking. Like, I try to support people, but I'm like, sometimes I'm like, dude, like, you think that you are so elevated and so like you have arrived, and I'm like, dude, you're just a cleaned up version of somebody who's a buck dancer, continuously taking L's in the community. I'm just kind of like, look, if 45 wins, then he wins. Look, the man is psycho. The people who follow him are super psycho, whatever. I can't be that invested, right? I got my own problems. But I feel like the community just continues to take L's. We get out there, we sound silly, you know, they would rather get Stephen A, who's not really a scholar per se, to get out there and talk versus somebody else who's a little bit more well versed in some of these things. But to be fair, maybe we do need to have some non-scholars talking about things. I don't know. I just kind of felt like he sounded a little silly, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, the community takes L's. I think the biggest one is listening to this Chris Brown Quavo beef that sounds so stupid to me. It is so dumb. And you've got all these people out here invested in these diss tracks. And don't get me wrong, I heard him. I was like, oh wow. Only oh my. Lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. But with that being said, I'm like, I can only give it so much. I mean, I look at clips now that are coming through my feed of Chris Brown, and I'm just kind of like, is he high? Is he always high? Like something with his mannerisms are off. I don't know, but he just looks like he's always on something, and he's such a talent. But I don't know. Anyway, I don't really know who the Quavo guy is. I was like, okay, he has little diss tracks too, but ultimately they both sound so stupid because it was more centered around who they were doing and who they were with. It was like all about women. And I'm like, women don't even realize how much power they have, even though they allowed themselves to be used because these men wrote diss tracks out how men who look like me have no self-esteem because the only value that they see in themselves is in their sexual prowess. That's it. That's their that's what they're hanging their hat on is I did this person. It's disgusting. So anyway, that's all they ever talk about. That's why I say we continue to take L's. We don't talk about like, hey, you know what I did? I single-handedly fixed. I'm poking fun, but like, we don't talk about things meaningful of substance. We don't talk about things like, you know what? It reminds me of Kanye. Everybody kept saying how much of a genius he was, and I was like, y'all sound so stupid. I'm like, y'all think he won? He didn't win. When he had all of his clout, he was lending his name to everybody instead of building his own infrastructure. He wasn't building his own sneaker manufacturing company so that when Adidas, or what Americans say is Adidas, but in Europe it's Adidas. So when Adidas or whoever it was, they said, hey, you are no longer welcome here, he should have had his own manufacturing company. That's what he should have invested in. You know what he should have done? When they kicked him or silenced him on social media, he should have had his own social media, right? You can't silence him on his own social media. You know what they did? When they were like, your money is no longer welcome here, was it JP Morgan Chase or whatever it was like that? He should have had his own banking institution. See, they wouldn't even take his money. They silenced his voice. They said, we don't even want to make your shoes and we don't need your name. And you got these silly people out there like, yeah, yeah, he won. They won 'cause they got to pay him out. I'm like, you have no idea what you just said. You sound so stupid. He didn't do anything, but all he did was allowed himself to be propped up because they still controlled him. He was like, they trying to make him a non-billionaire. I'm like, no, you did that to yourself. While you were doing that, you should have been working on creating your own manufacturing company, your own like actual labels and stuff, right? Like your own banking institutions, your own social media, your own everything. That's what you should have done. No, we continue to take L's, and then we get out here on the internet, and people. There's a reason why people continue to laugh at like some of these dumb people out here. Dumb. That was a prime opportunity for him to say, you know what, like. Let me go ahead and establish this. He should have been hooking up with like your Beyonces and your Rihannas and everything like that. They should have been saying, you know what, we have such a global reach, such influence. This is when we can establish things, establish that infrastructure, bring people up through the ranks so they can understand how this is done. They didn't do that. Now, Rihanna is still very successful, but I just feel like the community just takes L's all the time. And people will let you, like, get out here on the internet and make it seem like you just talk and flap your gums, right? But at the end of the day, the world is still turning. These big corporations and conglomerates are still doing what they do. And now you're sitting on the sideline trying to figure out who's going to pick up your label versus you pushing your own. Hey, I said what I said. Now y'all could be mad at me all you want. All right. Um, that's all I got. All right, so go ahead and like this video because you know you agree with me, or at least some of what I just said. And yeah, I think that's all I got today. That's all I got. All right, subscribe.